right, welcome to another edition of the Deals for Dentists podcast. And today we're joined by Dr. Emily Letran, and you can go on her website, www.dremilyletran.com. And Emily is a general dentist who owns two multi-specialty group practices in Southern California. She's a dentist, she's a mom, she's a high-performance coach. She's written books, videos, and she's been on 1 million podcasts. Emily, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to join you to share some insights, hopefully some expertise in how to be successful in our field.
And Emily, where are you zooming in from today?
I'm zooming in from Southern California, where it is a chilly, probably 50 degrees something. So for someone like me, anything below 60 is cold.
Yeah, I'll take 60. Right now, it's probably in the 30s here in Massachusetts. So, Emily, let's start with, how did you decide to become a dentist?
Well, that's what I share with people. That's a very uninspired story. I actually came from Vietnam as a refugee back in 1981, and we actually escaped communists. We were on a boat for 7 days at seas, and then we ended up in a refugee camp, lived there for several months, and came to the States. First lived in Louisiana for 6 months, and then moved to California. And growing up during that time, this is mid to late 80s, and as a family of Asian, my aunt, who I came with to this country, she basically preached that you should be in healthcare in order to find a job more easily. And I love healthcare just because like a lot of us, we love to help people, and I didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do. I remember I went to I thought my aunt told me, be a medical technician. This is when that field was still new. And I remember having somebody at, I think it was Kiwanis, who came to the school and took us on a little field trip, took me on a little field trip. And I went to the lab for the medical technician, and I asked him, where are all the microscopes? And the lady said, we have the sample, we put it in the machine, we push a button, and out come the result. So for me, I'm a very hands-on kind of person. I thought that was sort of a turn off for me. And so when I started undergrad, I was kind of looking around. I didn't like the idea of having a beeper. This is a long time ago when the doctors were wearing the beeper, and we might be in a party, and the beeper would ring off, and you have 20 people, checking their waist to see if it's their beeper. And I'm thinking, if it's your beeper, right? Because it would vibrate. I didn't like that idea. And I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist because my aunt used to be a pharmacist back home. And I remember one of the get together for the Vietnamese students, one of my friends came up to me and he said, I heard you wanted to be a pharmacist. Don't do that. And I said, well, what do you mean? Why not? And he said, because, pharmacists back home, the pharmacists, they're like doctors, right? You may have a patient come in, and obviously this is Vietnam, a third world country. You may have a patient come in and say, I have a stomach ache, and the pharmacist would sell them 4 Tylenols, right? Put it in a little paper bag and give it to them. Because as kids, we used to make those little paper bags. So my aunt would put the medicine in and sell it to the patients. And he said, over here, it's not like that. So I went and I checked out. I talked to somebody at Save-On back then. And here comes the doctor, with the white coat standing behind the counter. And I asked him, what do you do during your day? And he said, I count pills. So that didn't go very well either. So my friend actually recommended me to be a dentist. And that's who influenced me. And I say it's not inspiring because it wasn't something, I see a dentist, I admire them, or dentistry changed my life. And I think that's a very common reason. A lot of my friends, when I met them in dental school at first, they either had a lot of dental work done, or maybe their parents were dentists, right? I had 2 fillings in my mouth. That was my extent of understanding and my exposure to dentistry. But as I went through the curriculum, I like the challenge a little bit, right? About talking to the patients and figuring things out when you're doing a diagnosis. And as a practitioner, I think it's wonderful because we have that opportunity to create that lifelong relationship, or maybe it's not like excuse me, maybe it's not lifelong, maybe, but it's certainly in 10 years, 12 years, that's very common. And I think I made the right choice. Going on almost 30 years, probably the right choice.
It's so funny you mentioned the beeper. We had the beeper at while I was at BU. I was in the implant program, and the postdoctoral students, we would pass that beeper around like a hot potato. It was the whoever was on emergency
Right.
call had the beeper. So I think we sound very old when we say the word beeper. I think a lot of the young dentists out there are like, what the heck is a beeper? But yeah, I always find it interesting to find out, how people chose dentistry. Mine was even less uninspiring. I think yours is still, you have such an inspiring story. I broke up my front tooth on a beer bottle in college, and I liked how the dentist in New Orleans patched me up. So that's how I became a dentist. It was I broke a tooth, my number 9 on a beer bottle. So I think your story is probably more inspiring than mine. But um, can you explain what it means to be a high performance coach and how this helps dentists?
Well, I think all of us have our own story, right? And we arrive or we are on our own journey. Whether you have one practice or you have multi practices, or maybe you're associating or you're a managing dentist, most of us are probably happy with what we've been doing. High performance is about being the better version of yourself. High performance is about that ambition to do more. And by doing more, it doesn't mean, you're going to make more money or you're going to have more time off. A lot of time in high performance, when we say to be more and to do more, it's about the people around us. It's about the impact. But you cannot do more for the people around you, whether it's your family or your community, unless you yourself have done well. So a lot of time in high performance, when I'm talking to a doctor, a business owner, a business professional, it's more okay. So this is where you are right now. Where do you see yourself in? Just like the common questions is, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, etc. Um, but what more will you be doing in those 5 or 10 years besides your collection number, your production number, or maybe you have more practices? That's where the fulfillment question come in. There are people who do very well, make good money, and they feel unfulfilled. I have
Mhm.
clients where, let's say the doctor say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to take Wednesday off," and I say, "Okay, so what are you planning for Wednesday?" And she didn't know. It was because that's what happened is a lot of us we plan our day in so much detail. We're seeing patient from this time to this time. We're taking this break, etc. Or even if we're going to a CE course, we plan out. I'm going to go there. I want to take this course and that course, and I want to maximize it. But yet, when we have a free day that was unscheduled at first, we don't plan. We don't have anything right off our head. What am I going to do to make that day meaningful to me? To make it, to fulfill me. Sometimes I would ask a client, your hobbies, and it would be dead silent because we don't have that time for the hobby, right? I remember one of my clients when we started working, and she's a very successful 7-figure dentist. It was I wanted to play golf again, right? And so how do I fit golf back in my life? Because I used to play golf when I was in college or whatever it was the previous time when she was doing that. And we worked for a couple of months, and golf is back in her life again, right? Because that's what makes her feel fulfilled. That it's something
Mhm.
that she loves. And so in high performance, we talk about having that clarity, having that energy so you can go to work and you can focus for your 8 hours, and then you go home and you still have that energy for your loved ones, for your kids. It could be the little ones, or sometimes it's the big ones, the big ones. Whether you have that energy to talk to them, or call them or check up on them, your spouse. We talk about influence. How do you talk to your team? How do you talk to your spouse? How do you talk to your kids? Because it's more the mentality and the way of life when we talk about high performance, and it goes into everything we do. So I don't I a lot of times, just like I gave the example, if you're gonna plan in detail your day's work or your CE, continuum, I want you to plan your breaks. I want you to plan really your happiness, right? Because you know that if you got that walk on the beach, you'll be happier, right? Or you got that hike, or you got that bike ride, things like that. Well, it has nothing to do with work, but it actually helps with your personal happiness. And so I think if all of us can be higher performer from where we are and improve on that, I think it will make a difference. And actually, I make that my mission to create those changes in the healthcare industry, because I think in general, a lot of the healthcare providers, whether you're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're a pharmacist, optometrist, we have very similar journey, serving patients, serving community, serving our family. We forget to serve ourselves. Sometimes we forget to grow ourselves in personal growth.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned, you think the word high performer always has to do with, performing as far as production and collection financially, but that's not the case. It's creating yourself to be the best version of yourself. And I think that's very interesting. Do you do this virtually? Is this one-on-one with dentists? How does it work?
Yes, I do this virtually, and it's a we have a certified program, so we go through 12 weeks of this, and we talk about like some of the things I mentioned: clarity, energy, productivity, courage, influence, psychology, physiology, um, purpose. And we take each one of those topics, and the doctor could you could talk about a personal situation, or you could talk about your business situation. And what we know and what we guarantee is, from the beginning of the call to the end of the call, which is usually 60 minutes, you will be a higher performer, because you will come to the understanding where you are and how you can make those changes. And you write down the steps that you're gonna take, and you commit yourself to it. Coaching is helping the client come to the conclusion themselves, right? Consulting is I'll just give you the answer,
Mhm.
but coaching is I'm going to help you come to that answer or that conclusion, whatever it is for you, by yourself. And so I do this virtually because we can do a Zoom call like this where we can be face to face. I actually do a lot of my calls just over the phone, because again, it's about a question, and it's about you thinking about the answer. Even if somebody start working with me, and their thing is my staff or my schedule, right? Unless you're very clear about your staff or your schedule, I don't think it's necessary for me to be in your office. Like, if I could be in your office and you say, and I ask you, okay, so do all your staff have goals, and what kind of goals, and what are the ways that they can use to specifically impact that goal that you want them, to achieve. And if you're not clear in what those are, because you should be the one designing those goals, if you're not clear on that, it makes no difference if I'm right there in your office or if I'm in a remote location, right? So a lot of time it has to do with getting real clear with what you want to do, and empower the people around you to support you to get to those goals. So yeah, the majority of my patients, not my patients, the majority of my clients, I do it virtually. I've had a couple of local doctors that I we actually talk one-on-one. They just meet in my office and we chat about it. But I think overall, I mean, I've had great results with a lot of with the doctors, and some of them I've never met, you know, because we're doing it virtually, and they get those results, and we can celebrate it, you know, in the follow-up calls. And as long as you're getting the result that you want, the client, I don't think it's necessary to do more than that. I'm one of those people, I believe in doing minimal work for maximum impact.
Now, why are these dentists coming to you? Do they feel unfulfilled? Are they not happy? Are they burned out? Are they stressed? Is it all the above?
I would say it's all of the above, but it may not come out like that. So for example, let's say let's say I'm talking to you. I'll just pick on you because we're having this conversation, and we may be talking, and you may say something like, you know, I really want to take a long vacation, right? And you didn't say you were stressed. You didn't say anything about production or collection, and we could have a casual talk, or it could be one of my focus call, right? And it would be, well, how come you haven't taken a long vacation? Well, I'm too busy. I got so many offices. Whenever I'm on vacation, things fall apart. You know, and as you talk about it, you will soon discover that you are stressed. You may not have told me that you're stressed, right? And you may discover that you are burnt out, but you're getting tired of it. You really need a long vacation. One of the things I hate is when people talk about Monday, right? And getting frustrated, or what is that emotion like? You know, they don't look forward to Monday, right? And to me, why would that be? You're really supposed to take a break, if you could, on the weekend and recharge yourself. So Monday is just a day, right? Monday is just another day. Yes, it's the beginning of the week. We should have planned what we're going to do on Monday. And the same thing for Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, whichever it is. If we have a plan and we know our goal, then every day is kind of the same, unless it's a day in somebody else's practice, or, you know, something that you're doing for the first time. So, and even, you know, even when it's a new day, uh, a lot of time in high performance, we celebrate the wins, right? So what have you achieved? And just go look back at that. Sometimes people say, well, it's my first time this happened. And I will bring
Thank you.
them back to thinking, have you done something like this? Similar situation. It's not exact same situation, but it's something similar. And it's all about the mindset and the strategy that you plan, that will bring you to the result that you want. And
Celebrating the wins is so important, because I
mhm,
think a lot of dentists can get too focused on the one bad thing that happened, and not the 30 good things that happened, you know, during the day or during the week. And there's a major case of the Sunday night blues, you know, dreading
mhm,
going in Monday morning. And, you know, I personally used to have that a lot. Now I'm a bit more at peace with myself, and enjoy going into work more. So I don't really even think about, I actually start on Tuesday. So Tuesday is my Monday, but I don't even really think about going in. And I don't really check my schedule the night before, that used to be like a major love-hate relationship, when I would check the schedule the night before to see who's coming in. So I think you nailed it there, is focus on the wins, and don't get too bogged down on the few bad things that happen.
yeah,
Um,
I don't remember if I read or I just heard somebody talk about doing a puzzle, right? And he said, you have a 500 piece puzzle, and you lost a piece, right? So
mhm.
you finish the 499 piece. But when your friend comes and looks at the puzzle, they're going to ask you what happened to the one piece.
Yep.
And they're not going to ask you, how long did it take for you to do the 499, right?
Yep.
So the 499 are the little wins. And so you're missing one piece. But don't focus on that one piece missing. And that's why that's why we call the high performance as habits, right? The habit of looking at the big picture, the habit of giving yourself your own compliment, right? Because if you know that you've done everything to the best of your ability, then there's no reason to beat yourself down about it,
Mm-hmm. So
right?
true.
Yeah, if you know you deliver the bridge, it's a good bridge, and the patient is going to come back 5 times and bitch about it. Okay, well then you just need to make a decision. You want to continue seeing the patient, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't go back and say I should have done this, I should have done that. If it was already your best work, right?
Yep.
And your best work may be better than my best work, but that's the best I could do. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but for me, see, it's a lot of it is the reflection of understanding yourself.
Yep.
Because once you understand yourself, you will stop beating yourself on it. And if you think that you could improve, then by all means, sign up for a course, work with a coach, try to get yourself to that higher level, because we all have a higher level. It just, how ambitious are we? Do we want to go to that higher level? If we know that that higher level will serve us and our family better, then I think all of us would most likely go for that higher level.
Emily, what do you think one of your biggest breakthroughs in your career was?
Well, my biggest breakthrough in my career was a, a, a long a long time back, and it was the realization that I don't have to do everything. I was talking to a doctor the other day, and he's about my age, so early 50, and he said he has just started putting in an associate. And I jokingly told him, you would have realized this a long time ago if you had been pregnant, right? You just need to have a baby, then you realize that you need somebody else in the practice, right? Whether you have somebody to sub for you or you bring in an associate. And so I had that back in 1999 when I had my second baby. I just bought my 2 practices, and then I have a baby. So I'm going to be out of the picture for 8 weeks, having the baby, and actually a total of 10 weeks, 2 weeks before and 8 weeks after. And it's not just about letting go and just trust whoever is taking care of your practice. Beyond that, it was, what, I don't have to be there, but I can make it work, right? Um, and and after that, the realization that it's okay. I don't have to be the one. I don't have to be the best one in the practice, put it that way, just because I'm the owner. Um, I think one of the biggest compliment I have is patient coming in and they would look at me and say, I've been here for 2, 3 years or whatever the time is, and it's so nice to meet you for the first time. Right? And at the beginning, it will be like, how come I haven't seen this patient? I'm the
Right.
owner. Don't you know that I'm the owner? And now it's more, oh, this is so cool because people don't know me. They come to the practice because they know how the practice operate, right?
Mm-hmm.
We treat people a certain way. We actually have a mix HMO, PPO, cash practice because of
Mm-hmm.
the location where we are. Um, and because we don't treat the patient based on their insurance anyway. If you've been in practice for a long time, you know that things change. I mean, I have patients who start out having a PPO, then they switch job and they have an HMO, and then they lose their job, and then they have Medi-Cal, and then they get it, and then they become an entrepreneur, so they pay with cash, and then they go back to work. So it's the same patient, and that picture of the insurance or whatever keep on changing, as long as we're diagnosing, treating the person the best way that we can, and we're just diagnosing comprehensive treatment, and tell them, okay, these are your benefits, and it cover, I don't know, 10% of whatever you need, and then leave it to the patient to make that decision, right? But that way, I don't need to care, and I don't mean care as in not caring, but I don't need to look at, okay, what insurance does he have, and what should I diagnose, that kind of a thing, because I think it kind of dilute the doctor patient relationship if we just treat them just like everybody else. We're just going to assume that if they don't have enough money for this treatment, regardless of their insurance, I have the financing companies that can help them with it. That's it. That's the best I can do. And
Mm-hmm.
whatever they decide is up to them. And I think the breakthrough is You don't need to know everything. You don't need to diagnose things that the patient can afford, but I'm going to do my best and I'm going to just leave it and let the other people take care of whatever their part is. I think it gives you a lot of freedom, not just the freedom, in your mindset, but also the freedom in how you run your business,
Hmm.
right? Because I could have a lot of people come in to the practice. I could have very few. And if they accept the treatment, they go through the financing, and my numbers are good, I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to worry about too many things.
Now, let's talk about Action to Win. Do you talk about a lot of these teachings that we just spoke about during Action to Win? And Emily was nice enough to invite me to speak at one of the next coming Action to Wins, which is at the Dental Festival in Nashville in July. Is this a series of seminars that you put on?
Yeah, so I usually put on 3 or 4 action to win during the year. It's usually in different cities. Usually where I have my friends, so they can help me promote the event. So yes, we talk about these aspects of business in relation to high performance, which is the mindset. So just like what we just said, okay, so that was a breakthrough. That big breakthrough, if you think about it, is really the mindset that I don't have to do everything, that I can delegate. In my case, it was like I have to delegate because I'm going to be out, having a baby anyway. But that change in the mindset dictates the set of actions that I'm going to, that's going to follow, where I could have multiple offices, where I have, team leader, team members that can run the show, where I can just plug in, right, an associate. And if the associate have the same values as us, right, it's a matter of getting the associate to learn who we are and how we do things. And then just let the associate just do his or her own thing. And same thing go for a specialist. So yeah, a lot of time when I do the seminars, it's multi speakers because I'm one of those people. I want to give great values. So
Mhm.
each of the speaker come in and just give one aspect about what they're passionate about or what they're teaching. And usually I offer my coaching program there. I usually speak on high performance and business marketing. Again, talking about business marketing, there's so many people who talk about marketing. I really think one of the big challenge in marketing and why it's not successful, it has to do with the doctor and how the doctor thinks, right? If somebody come into your office and say it's going to be $5,000 a month to promote your practice, and you go, that sounds like a lot. There's a very good chance that you don't know your cost of acquisition. You don't know your patient average value of a new patient. Maybe you don't know how long a patient stay with you, because when you know some of these numbers, which are business basics, it's a lot easier to say, yeah, I can do the 5,000, right? And if you know how to track it, then you will know in 30 days, hey, this works. I'm going to keep continuing doing this, or no, this does not work. How can we tweak it? How can we change it to make it different? Right. So for me, it's more about helping the doctor look at things a particular way, sometimes change their perspective, right? And help them commit to what really will make a difference in their practice. Because there's multiple things. You can't change a lot of things at one time. You just look at what is the one thing that I can do that will change, let's just say, my production or my collection. And we focus on that first. And that could be marketing, could be staff, could be how you present treatment plan, right? But it all goes back to your mindset as a high performer. So it's a combination of both that I talk about. I go back a lot to high performance as a person because it dictates your action.
Awesome. And Emily, before we wrap things up, I wanted to ask you, for all the young dentists out there or young entrepreneurs, what advice would you give them?
I think the main advice that I would give is to try to learn as much as you can from the right people. And by the right people, what I mean is just make sure that whoever is talking or teaching, they actually have done it, or they actually live it, um, somebody of substance. Let's put it that way. Sometimes I see, the talk on, let's just say on social media, right? And there are a lot of people giving their opinions. Um, are they actually somebody who have done it well, right? And sometimes you look at it from who are they associated with, if that makes any sense. Back in the early 90s when I graduated in 93 from UCLA. There was no social media then. So I was reading books, right? I was reading newsletter from people like Dr. Howard Farran, Dr. Woody Oakes, Sandy Pardue, right? These are the influencers of our industry back then. There were social media level, the platform. So now there's anybody who can talk about anything, right? But back then it's really just the real people who are doing the real thing who are going to be in the forefront. So, and a lot of time what I hear is, doctors who just take that advice and run with it without doing your due diligence. Even if you're listening to me, say, and I talk about high performance, and you go, yeah, let me go and just follow Emily. Well, I want you to know that I got certified by Brendan Bouchard, who coached people like Oprah and Usher and Ariana Huffington, right? And the process has been proven in research with I think a 97 or 98% satisfaction. Um, so maybe I'm not the one doing the research, but the research has already been done for me, right? And if I'm giving you advice in marketing, I've learned from people like Dan Kennedy, who's a genius in copywriting and marketing. I've been learning from him for the past 10 years. I actually have the honor of writing a chapter in his book, his new book, and the chapter is called How to Keep a Patient for 24 Years, right? So you look, sometimes you may not know the work, but if you look at who the person is associated with, it tells you a little bit. And that's part of the due diligence, right? Because anytime anybody asks a question on Facebook, there are 20 answers. Who do you know who actually have done the work? Somebody giving you advice on buying a practice and they bought one, right? And whatever challenges they have, great. But listening to somebody who maybe sell and buy practices, right? Or somebody who've done it multiple times. I've done it 5 times. I think it's pretty good. And I got to learn, different aspects about it. And I would give you the advice based, of course, based on my experience, but back it up by numbers. So I say, learn as much as you can as a new doctor. And what I say here is not about learning and signing up for those symposium and the clinical aspect. I think as a new doctor, what you need to learn is management, is people skill, because you've learned enough in dental school. I believe all the dental school have taught you enough of the basics. What you need is you need to learn how to speed up on the basics, right? Do really well on the basics. Then the next thing is to go and learn about implants or sleep or airway. You can add all those on anytime you want, but make sure that you can prep a crown in 15 minutes or whatever it is that is considered fast and efficient but good quality, right? Always going back to the basics is one of my favorite thing. Whenever I'm looking at a real complicated treatment plan and I'm getting stuck because I'm thinking, okay, they can do this, we'll do this, I just go, okay, let me just go back to the basic, Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's hard because people get overwhelmed with all the new stuff, and you don't need all the new stuff in order to run a successful business, a good successful business. And then all the new technologies and things, it would just help you hyper grow, in my opinion.
It's such great advice. You said a couple really profound things there about, be careful who you get advice from, and because anyone can claim to be an expert. Make sure you do your due diligence on who you're getting advice from, and I think that is such good advice. And back to basics. I remember I used to get so overwhelmed when I would have a new patient in the chair and would be looking at their FMX. And if there was all these issues going on, I would get so overwhelmed. But if you just get back to, the basics and start treatment planning, like you learned in school, you don't have to overwhelm yourself. Emily, thank you so much. Again, Emily Letran, she's a general dentist, a high performance coach, and you can check out www.emilyletran.com, and you can see her down in Nashville at the next Action to Win. And Emily, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, you're very welcome. Actually, the website is dremilyletran.com. And I would love for any questions, comments. You can just email it to me at emily@exceptionalleverage.com. I would love to see everyone at the event in Nashville. You check out Eventbrite. We do have a page up there. It's kind of a long page right now because we're putting out a new landing page, and so honored to have Dr. Eric Block come and share on how to control stress, right? Because I think all of us have stress, and we just need to be very honest with ourselves and look at ourselves and say, yep, I'm stressed, and what can I do about it? Because sometimes you don't feel the stress, but it will manifest in how you act, how you treat people, and sometimes your physical health. So that's awesome that you're taking on that mission to help dentists overcome stress.
Oh, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you down in Nashville.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I hope everybody have a great day. Go crush it, and may the floss be with you.